My parents didn't miss my graduation. They chose brunch over me. The email arrived at 7 a.m. Your sister's celebrating her promotion. Family comes first. Apparently, I wasn't family. By noon, I was standing on MIT's stage. 500 graduates, 1,000 guests watching, and two reserved seats in the front row, empty name cards gleaming under the lights. The videographer captured everything. My speech lasted 4 minutes. The footage lasted forever. 2 million views by evening. Then their phones started ringing, every colleague, every neighbor, everyone they'd bragged to about their MIT daughter. They finally came looking. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The pattern started long before MIT. Long before I understood what favoritism looked like. Long before I had words for the hollow feeling that settled in my chest every time my mother said, "That's nice, sweetie," and turned away. I was 6 when I first noticed the difference. Jessica was 9. We lived in a small Massachusetts town where everyone knew everyone, where the houses had front porches and the school had one building for all the elementary grades. My mother taught piano lessons from our living room 3 afternoons a week. We were upper middle class in a town where that meant something. It meant my parents drove newer cars. It meant we took a vacation every summer. It meant there was always enough. Except there wasn't always enough attention to go around. Jessica was the kind of child people noticed. Blonde hair that caught the light, blue eyes that photographed well. She was outgoing in the way that made adults smile, the kind of kid who'd walk up to strangers and start conversations. My mother loved that about her. She'd tell people at church, at the grocery store, anywhere she could work it into conversation. How social Jessica was. How many friends she had. How the teachers adored her. I had brown hair and brown eyes like my father. I was quiet. I liked books and numbers, and sitting in corners where no one bothered me. My mother didn't know what to do with a child who preferred solitude. My father didn't seem to notice much of anything beyond his newspaper and weekend golf games. The first time I really understood the difference was my 10th birthday. We were in the kitchen. Saturday morning. May sunshine coming through the window over the sink, making patterns on the linoleum floor. My mother was wiping down the counters. I was sitting at the table with my homework, some math worksheet I'd finished early because numbers made sense in a way people didn't. "What kind of cake do you want for your party?" she asked. I looked up. I'd been thinking about this for weeks. Chocolate with strawberry filling, like the one we got for Jessica last year. My mother's hand paused on the counter. "That's a special order cake, Maya. Those are expensive." But Jessica got one. Jessica had a big party, lots of guests. She turned back to the sink. "We'll get you a nice cake from the grocery store. They have good ones." The grocery store. The ones in the plastic containers with the chemical sweet frosting that stuck to the roof of your mouth. I stared at the table. My throat felt tight. "Can I at least pick the flavor?" "Sure, sweetie, whatever they have." Whatever they have. Not whatever I wanted. Whatever was there. The party was small. 4 girls from my class who my mother invited because their mothers were in her book club. We ate pizza and the grocery store cake vanilla with white frosting. Because that's what they had. The girls were nice enough. We played in the backyard. My mother took one photo. Jessica's birthday, that August was different. The custom cake arrived in a white box, 3 tiers with fondant flowers and raspberry filling between layers of chocolate so rich it was almost black. 27 guests, a bounce house in the backyard. A photographer my mother hired who spent 2 hours taking shots of Jessica with her friends, Jessica with her presents, Jessica blowing out the candles. I helped clean up afterward, threw away paper plates and stuffed gift bags into trash bags. Found stray pieces of wrapping paper under the deck. My mother stood in the kitchen doorway, looking at the photos on the photographer's camera screen. "These are beautiful. Jessica looks like a little model." I carried another trash bag past her. "Thank you for helping, Maya. That's very mature of you." Mature. I was 10. I didn't want to be mature. I wanted a 3-tier cake and a photographer and 27 friends, and my mother looking at pictures of me with that soft smile on her face. But I didn't say anything. I just nodded and took the trash out to the curb. The pattern continued. Small things at first, then bigger ones. When I won the regional spelling bee in 5th grade, my mother couldn't come to the ceremony. Jessica had a dentist appointment. Never mind that the appointment was routine, that it could have been rescheduled, that I'd been studying for months. My father took me instead. He sat in the audience and clapped when they called my name, but he checked his watch 3 times during the reception afterward. "We should get going," he said. "Your mother wants me to pick up dinner on the way home." We left before I could talk to the other winners, before I could get the photo with the trophy they were setting up. I held the ribbon in the car on the way home, first place printed in gold letters, and watched the trees blur past my window. At dinner that night, I tried to show my mother the ribbon. "That's wonderful, Maya." She glanced at it, then turned to Jessica. "How was the dentist? Did Dr. Morrison say your teeth look good?" Jessica launched into a detailed description of the cleaning. The fluoride treatment. The new toothbrush they'd given her. My mother listened to every word, asking follow-up questions, nodding with interest. The ribbon sat next to my plate. Nobody looked at it again. I put it in my desk drawer when I went upstairs, pushed it to the back, under some old worksheets and forgotten birthday cards. Out of sight. 3 weeks later, Jessica came in 3rd place in her class talent show. She'd done a dance routine to some pop song, something she'd practiced for maybe a week. My mother ordered a custom cake, invited the grandparents, took 47 photos that she posted to Facebook with captions about how proud she was. I was 12 when I started keeping a journal. Not a diary. I didn't write about feelings, or boys, or friendship drama. I wrote down facts, dates, events, things I'd accomplished that nobody seemed to notice. March 15, Science Fair. My volcano project won 2nd place in the district. Mom and Dad didn't come. Jessica had a soccer game. She sat on the bench the entire time. April 3, report card. Straight A's. Mom said, "That's nice," and put it on the fridge with a magnet. Jessica's report card had 2 B's and 3 C's. Mom spent an hour talking to her about improvement strategies and called her teachers to set up conferences. May 22, math competition at the university. I placed first in my age group. Dad drove me but left early because Jessica texted that she wanted to go to the mall. I got a ride home with another parent. I didn't show the journal to anyone. It wasn't for sharing. It was evidence, proof that I wasn't imagining things, that the difference was real. My grandmother Rose started to notice around this time. She was my mother's mother, a woman with silver hair she wore in a neat bun and hands that always smelled like the lavender lotion she kept in her purse. She lived 20 minutes away and came to Sunday dinners most weeks. One Sunday when I was 12, she found me in the den reading while everyone else watched a movie in the living room. Some comedy Jessica had picked. I could hear them laughing through the wall. "Why aren't you watching with them?" Grandma Rose sat down in the armchair across from me. "I've already seen it." "So has your father, probably. He's watching anyway." I kept my eyes on my book. Pride and Prejudice, borrowed from the library. Too advanced for my age, according to the librarian. But I was already halfway through. Grandma Rose was quiet for a while. Then she said, "You're a very independent child, aren't you?" "I guess." "Do you like being independent?" I finally looked up. She was watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Not pity. Something else. Something that made my chest feel less tight. "I don't know," I said. "I don't think I have a choice." She nodded slowly. Didn't ask me to explain. Didn't tell me I was wrong, or that I was imagining things, or that my parents loved me just as much as Jessica. She just sat there, understanding something I couldn't quite articulate. "I'm making cookies next week," she said after a moment. "Chocolate chip. You could come help me if you want. Just you and me." It became a regular thing after that. Every other Tuesday, after school, My grandmother would pick me up and we'd go to her house. We'd bake or garden or sometimes just sit on her porch drinking lemonade and not talking about anything important. She never mentioned Jessica, never compared us, never asked me why I wasn't more like my sister. She just let me exist. Christmas that year was the worst so far. The tree went up the day after Thanksgiving. White lights and red ornaments and a star at the top that had been in my mother's family for 3 generations. Jessica and I used to decorate it together when we were little, but the past few years, Jessica did it with Mom while I was at after-school math club. The presents appeared gradually throughout December. By Christmas morning, there were 2 distinct piles under the tree. One side for Jessica, one side for me. Jessica's pile was bigger. It always was. I told myself it didn't matter, that I didn't care about quantity, that I was too old to be counting presents like a little kid. But when we started opening them, the difference wasn't just quantity. Jessica got a laptop, a rose gold MacBook with her initials engraved on the case. She screamed when she opened it, jumping up and down and hugging my mother and father. They'd spent weeks researching which one to get, my mother explained. They wanted it to be perfect for her. I got practical things. A winter coat because I'd outgrown my old one, a scientific calculator for math class, some books, a gift card to the bookstore, everything I needed, nothing I'd wanted. The last present I opened was from my parents. A card with a check inside. $500. For college, my father said. Start saving early. Jessica was 17. She'd already gotten her college fund present last Christmas, a check for $5,000, plus the laptop this year. But nobody mentioned that. I folded the check and put it in my pocket. Thank you. My mother smiled. You're so responsible with money, Maya. We know you'll use it wisely. Responsible, mature, wise. All the words they used when they wanted to make practicality sound like a compliment instead of an excuse. That night, I wrote in my journal, December 25, Christmas presents. Jessica. Laptop, $1,200. Clothes, $400. Gift cards, $200. MISC, $300. Total approximately $2,100. Me. Coat, $80. Calculator, $30. Books, $60. Gift card, $25. Check, $500. Total $695. Difference, $1,405. I added it to my running total. I'd been tracking since 6th grade. The number was getting hard to ignore. Middle school brought new challenges, specifically, the challenge of invisibility. My parents' friends didn't know they had 2 daughters. I discovered this at a church barbecue the summer after 7th grade. I was standing by the dessert table, trying to decide between brownies and cookies, when I overheard Mrs. Patterson talking to my mother. "How's your daughter doing?" she asked. "What grade is she going into?" "10th, my mother said. "She's very social, always busy with friends." Jessica was going into 10th. I was going into 8th. "You must be so proud," Mrs. Patterson said. "We are. She's such a joy." I picked a brownie and walked away, found a spot behind the church where I could eat in peace. The chocolate tasted like dust in my mouth. At school, I threw myself into academics. It was the one arena where the difference didn't matter, where achievement was quantifiable and public. Honor roll every quarter. Math competitions, science fair, academic decathlon. If I couldn't be noticed at home, I'd be noticed somewhere. But even that had limits. When I won the state math championship in 8th grade, I came home with a trophy bigger than my head and a scholarship to a summer program at Boston University. It was the biggest academic honor in the state for middle schoolers. 300 kids had competed. I'd won. My mother was on the phone when I walked in. She glanced at the trophy, gave me a thumbs up, and kept talking. Something about Jessica's prom dress, whether they should get it altered or return it and find something else. I carried the trophy upstairs, put it on my desk next to the ribbon from 5th grade and the certificates from 6th and 7th. A shrine to accomplishments nobody cared about. My father knocked on my door that night. He stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets, looking uncomfortable. Your mother told me about the math thing. That's really something, Maya. Thanks. Boston University, huh? That's a good school. It's just a summer program. Still, that's impressive. He shifted his weight. We're proud of you. You know that, right? I looked at him. Really looked at him. Saw the guilt in his eyes. The way he couldn't quite meet my gaze. He knew. On some level, he knew exactly what was happening in this house. He just didn't know how to fix it. Or didn't care enough to try. Sure, I said. I know. He nodded and left, closed the door softly behind him. I turned back to my homework. Pre-algebra that was too easy, that I could do in my sleep. I worked through the problems methodically, showing every step even though I could do them in my head. My teacher liked when I showed my work. Said it was good practice for high school. Everything was practice for something else, for the future, for later, for when things would be different. Except things didn't get different, they got worse. Jessica failed her sophomore year biology class. My mother spent hours on the phone with the school, arranging for a tutor, fighting to let her retake the final. The tutor came twice a week, $60 an hour. My mother sat in on every session, taking notes, making sure Jessica understood. When I asked if I could take an SAT prep course the following year, a course that cost $200, my mother said they couldn't afford it right now, maybe next year. I could study from the library books in the meantime. I was 13 when I had my first panic attack. It was during Jessica's Sweet 16 party. My mother had rented out a room at a local restaurant, hired a DJ, invited 60 people. I'd been told to help serve cake and clean up. To be helpful, to be mature. I stood in the corner, watching Jessica dance with her friends, watching my mother take photos, watching my father stand at the bar talking to other parents, watching everyone look at Jessica like she was the sun and the rest of us were just circling in her orbit. My chest got tight. My hands started shaking. The room tilted sideways, and I couldn't breathe. Couldn't pull air into my lungs. Couldn't make my heart slow down. I locked myself in the bathroom and sat on the floor with my head between my knees, counting to 10 over and over until the world stopped spinning. Nobody noticed I was gone. When I came out 20 minutes later, the party was still going. Jessica was opening presents. My mother was filming. I slipped back to my corner and picked up a stack of dirty plates. There you are, my mother said, without looking away from her phone. Can you take these to the kitchen? I carried the plates through the swinging door, set them by the sink, stood there for a long time, staring at nothing, feeling nothing. By middle school, I'd learned that silence could fill a room. High school was supposed to be different. That's what everyone said. A fresh start. New building. New teachers. People who didn't know me as Jessica Chen's little sister. I walked through those doors on the first day of freshman year, believing that maybe, finally, I could be seen for who I was. By the end of the first week, 3 teachers had asked if I was related to Jessica. She'd graduated 2 years earlier, but apparently her reputation lingered. Social butterfly, popular. So much personality. They'd smile when they said it, expecting me to smile back, to share some charming anecdote about my wonderful sister. I learned to nod and change the subject. The academic work was easy. Honors classes felt like regular classes with more homework. I finished assignments during lunch, did the reading on the bus, turned everything in early. My GPA was perfect by October. The guidance counselor called me in to talk about it. You're on track for valedictorian, Mrs. Hoffman said. She was young, maybe 30, with kind eyes and a desk covered in college brochures. Have you thought about where you want to apply? MIT, I said. Or Stanford, somewhere with a strong engineering program. She pulled up something on her computer. Those are reach schools, very competitive. We should look at some safety options too. I'll get in. It wasn't arrogance. It was fact. I had the grades, the test scores, the extracurriculars. I'd been building my resume since middle school. Not because I loved all of it, but because I needed something that was mine. Something nobody could dismiss or diminish or redirect to Jessica. Mrs. Hoffman looked at me over her glasses. It's good to have confidence, but the application process is unpredictable. Even perfect students get rejected. Then I'll make myself more than perfect. I joined 2 more clubs that week, started volunteering at the library on weekends, signed up for the robotics team even though I'd never built anything mechanical in my life. If perfection wasn't enough, I'd exceed it. At home, nobody asked about my classes. My father had switched jobs, something in management that required longer hours and business trips. He was gone more than he was home. My mother had started working part-time at a boutique, something to keep her busy now that Jessica was in college. Jessica was at state school an hour away, studying communications. She dropped out after her first semester, come home for 3 months, then re-enrolled for spring semester. My parents had paid the full tuition both times. $18,000 per semester, plus room and board, plus the new car they'd bought her because the bus system wasn't reliable. Nobody mentioned that I'd be applying to colleges soon, that MIT's tuition was $60,000 a year, that I'd need help too. I didn't bring it up. I researched scholarships instead, made spreadsheets of deadlines and requirements and award amounts, applied to everything I was eligible for, spent hours on essays and applications, collected letters of recommendation from every teacher who'd give me one. Thanksgiving of my sophomore year, Jessica came home with a boyfriend, Chad. He wore expensive sneakers and talked about his father's business and called my mother Mrs. C like they were friends. My mother loved him immediately. "Isn't he wonderful?" she asked me while we were setting the table. "So polite. Such good family. He seems nice." Jessica is lucky to have found someone so mature. Most boys her age are so immature. I folded a napkin, set it next to a plate. "She's 20. That's pretty normal." My mother gave me a look. "You'll understand when you're older. Relationships take emotional intelligence." As if I lacked emotional intelligence. As if I was the one who'd failed biology and dropped out of college and needed parents to bankroll every mistake. Dinner was the usual performance. My father asked Chad about his major, his career plans, his father's business. Chad answered confidently, gesturing with his fork, making jokes that made my parents laugh. Jessica sat next to him, glowing, her hand on his arm. I ate my turkey and mashed potatoes and said nothing unless someone spoke to me directly, which they didn't. After dinner, I helped clear the table while everyone else moved to the living room. My grandmother Rose found me loading the dishwasher. "You're quiet tonight," she said. "Just tired." "How's school?" "Fine, good grades." She handed me a serving platter. "And how are you?" I looked at her. She was the only person who asked that question like she wanted the real answer. Like there was a difference between how school was and how I was. "I'm okay, Grandma." She studied my face for a long moment. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. "I want you to have this. Don't tell your mother." Inside was a check, $3,000. "Grandma, I can't." "Yes, you can. It's for college. I know you're applying next year. I know your parents are." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "I know you'll need help." My throat got tight. "Thank you. You're going to do great things, Maya. I know it." She hugged me, smelling like lavender and warmth and the only unconditional love I'd ever known. "Don't let anyone make you small." I deposited the check the next day. Started a separate bank account my parents didn't know about. Added to it whenever I could birthday money from relatives, wages from my weekend library job, the small cash prizes from academic competitions. By junior year, I'd saved $8,000. It wasn't much compared to what I'd need, but it was mine. Nobody could take it. Nobody could spend it on Jessica's mistakes or Chad's visits or whatever crisis required emergency funding next. The spring of my junior year, Jessica dropped out again. Some issue with her professors, according to my mother. They just didn't understand Jessica's learning style. It wasn't fair how they graded her. She needed time to figure out what she really wanted to do. My parents gave her $40,000. A fresh start, they called it. Money to get an apartment, to take some time off, to explore her options, to find herself. I found out because I overheard them talking about it. My mother on the phone with the bank, arranging a transfer. My father in the background asking if 40 was enough or if they should make it 50. I stood in the hallway outside their bedroom, my backpack heavy with textbooks, my acceptance letter to a summer engineering program at Boston University in my hand. The program cost $3,000. I'd been planning to ask them to help. I'd saved half already. I just needed them to cover the rest. I walked back downstairs, put the letter in my desk drawer, applied for 2 more part-time jobs. Nobody asked what I'd been coming to talk about. That summer, I worked 40 hours a week between the library and a coffee shop, and the engineering program I'd paid for myself. I came home exhausted every night, smelling like espresso and book dust, my hands cramped from soldering circuit boards and writing code. My mother asked once if I was overdoing it. "I'm fine," I said. "You should have some fun too. You're only young once." Fun. As if I had time for fun. As if fun was something I could afford. Jessica spent that summer at the beach with Chad. My parents rented them a house on the Cape for 2 weeks, posted photos on Facebook of Jessica in a bikini, cocktail in hand, sunset in the background. The comments poured in. "What a beauty. Living her best life. You must be so proud." I was at work when I saw them, scrolled past on my phone during my break, sitting in the back room of the coffee shop with my apron stained and my feet aching. Someone had written, "So proud of our girl," under one photo. 23 people had liked it. Nobody had commented on the photo I'd posted the week before, the one of me with my engineering team, holding the robot we'd built. I'd deleted it after 2 days. Senior year started with college applications. I applied early decision to MIT, also applied to Stanford, Berkeley, Carnegie Mellon, Cornell, 12 schools total. Spent September and October writing essays, requesting transcripts, checking and rechecking every requirement. Mrs. Hoffman helped me navigate the financial aid forms, the scholarship applications, the endless bureaucracy of trying to afford a future. "Your parents' income is going to affect your aid package," she said gently. We were in her office, my father's tax returns spread on her desk. "They make enough that you won't qualify for need-based aid at most schools." "But they're not paying." "Have you talked to them about it?" I hadn't, because I already knew what would happen. They'd say of course they'd help. They'd promise to contribute. Then Jessica would need something, a car repair, rent money, therapy bills, and the money would evaporate. And I'd be the one who was responsible, who understood about sacrifices, who didn't want to burden them. "I'll figure it out," I said. Mrs. Hoffman looked sad. "You shouldn't have to." But I did have to. That was the reality. So I applied for every scholarship I could find. Wrote essays about hardship and resilience and overcoming obstacles, carefully avoiding any mention of my family. Framed everything as personal determination, individual grit, the kind of bootstrap narrative that scholarship committees loved. I was named a National Merit Finalist in November. It came with a small scholarship and a certificate and recognition at a school assembly. The principal called my name. I walked across the stage. 200 students and parents clapped. My parents weren't there. My mother had volunteered to help Jessica move into her new apartment. Again. The 3rd apartment in 2 years. My father was on a business trip. Grandma Rose was there, sitting in the back row, clapping louder than anyone. She took me to dinner afterward at a nice restaurant downtown. The kind with cloth napkins and waiters who refilled your water without being asked. "I'm so proud of you," she said over pasta and breadsticks. "You know that, right?" "I know." Your parents should have been there. It was the first time she'd said it directly, acknowledged the thing we both knew but never named. They're busy, I said. They're always busy when it comes to you. She set down her fork. Maya, I need you to hear this. What they're doing isn't normal. It isn't right. And it's not your fault. I stared at my plate, the pasta blurred. You don't have to defend them, she continued. You don't have to make excuses. You can be angry. You're allowed to be angry. But I wasn't angry. Not really. Anger required energy, required caring, required believing things could be different. I'd moved past anger into something colder. Something that felt like acceptance but was actually just numbness. I'm okay, Grandma. She reached across the table and took my hand. No, but you will be. December brought early decision results. I checked my MIT portal at 3 in the morning on a Tuesday, too anxious to sleep. The page loaded slowly, my laptop old and struggling. Then the words appeared. Congratulations, we are pleased to offer you admission. I read it 3 times, made sure it was real. Then I closed my laptop and lay back down in bed, staring at the ceiling in the dark, feeling nothing and everything at once. I told my parents at breakfast. I got into MIT. My mother looked up from her coffee. Oh, honey, that's wonderful. Early decision, full acceptance. We're very proud of you. She smiled, the same smile she gave when I brought home good report cards or won competitions. Pleased, but not surprised. Expected. When do you have to decide? It's early decision. I already decided. I'm going. Well, that's exciting. We'll have to look at the financial aid package. There was no financial aid package. Not enough of one, anyway. Even with the scholarships I'd won, I'd need loans. Substantial loans. Or I'd need my parents to contribute the way they'd contributed to Jessica's education. $80,000 and counting for Jessica. 4 separate semesters paid for. Apartments funded. Cars purchased. Credit cards paid off. I'd done the math. I knew exactly how much they'd spent on her versus me. The spreadsheet was detailed, meticulous, impossible to argue with. I'll need help with tuition, I said carefully. My father set down his newspaper. We'll talk about it. Let's see what the costs look like. We never talked about it. January passed. February, March. Every time I brought it up, my parents said they needed to look at their budget, to see what they could afford, to wait until they knew what Jessica's situation was. Jessica had decided to go back to school, again. Different school this time, smaller, private, more expensive, $30,000 a year. My parents were considering paying for the first year to help her get back on her feet. I stopped asking, applied for more scholarships, picked up more shifts at work, looked into private student loans and felt my future calcify into debt. Mrs. Hoffman called me into her office in April. You've been named valedictorian, she said. Congratulations. I'd known it was coming. My GPA was untouchable. My class rank undisputed. But hearing it officially still felt like something. Like proof. Like evidence that I was worth something, even if my parents couldn't see it. Thank you. You'll give a speech at graduation, 4 to 5 minutes. We can work on it together if you'd like. I'll write it myself. She smiled. I thought you might say that. I told my parents that night, casual, over dinner. Just information. I'm valedictorian. I'll be giving the graduation speech. My mother's face lit up. Both of you? The room went still. What? I said. Aren't there usually 2 valedictorians, you and someone else? No, just me. 1 valedictorian per class. Oh, she processed this. Well, that's lovely, sweetheart. We'll definitely be there. My father nodded. Wouldn't miss it. But the moment had soured. Both of you. As if I couldn't have something that was just mine. As if even this, even the highest academic honor the school could give, needed to be shared or diminished or made about someone else. I finished my dinner in silence, cleared my plate, Went upstairs and closed my door and added the incident to my journal. April 15. Told parents about valedictorian. Mother's first response. Both of you. Assumed I was co-valedictorian. Can't comprehend me achieving something singular. Father said they'll be there for graduation. We'll see. The last months of high school passed in a blur of finals and packing and the strange melancholy that comes with endings. I was ready to leave. Desperate to leave. But leaving meant debt. Meant loans I'd be paying off for decades. Meant starting my adult life already buried. Graduation came on a Saturday in June. Bright sunshine, too hot for the black robes we wore. Rows of chairs on the football field. Families crowding the stands. 512 students. 2,000 guests. I scanned the crowd during the processional. Looked for my parents in the section where families of speakers were seated. Front row, good view. They weren't there. I told myself they were running late. Traffic. Parking. They'd be there for the ceremony, for my speech. They'd promised. The principal spoke. The class president spoke. 2 students sang the national anthem. I waited backstage, my speech folded in my pocket, my hands shaking slightly. A text came through at noon. Running behind, be there soon, so proud of you. The ceremony was starting. I was up in 10 minutes. Another text at 12:05. Actually, there's a situation with Jessica. Going to be a bit longer. You'll do great. I walked to the wing of the stage, watched my classmates file across, accepting their diplomas, their families cheering. The chair next to me, the one reserved for the principal, was empty. I sat down. My phone buzzed. Another text from my mother. Jess's promotion brunch is today. Forgot it was the same day. We're at the restaurant. Family comes first. You understand. We'll celebrate with you later. I read it twice, 3 times. The words didn't change. Family comes first. Apparently, I wasn't family. The principal called my name. I stood, walked to the podium. 500 graduates below me. 2,000 people in the stands. And in the front row, 2 empty seats with name cards that read, Mr. and Mrs. Chen. I gave my speech. 4 minutes about perseverance and finding your own path and the people who show up when it matters. About chosen family versus blood family. About the difference between presence and proximity. I didn't mention my parents by name. I didn't have to. The empty seats said everything. The audience applauded. I walked off the stage, accepted my diploma, smiled for the photographer, moved through the rest of the ceremony in a fog. Afterward, Grandma Rose found me. She was crying, mascara streaking her cheeks. She hugged me hard enough to hurt. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I'm so sorry they did this to you. It's fine. It's not fine. It's never been fine. But what could we do? What could anyone do? They'd made their choice. They'd been making it my entire life. This was just the most visible example, the most public confirmation of something I'd always known. I wasn't the daughter they wanted. Maybe I was the daughter they deserved. MIT's campus was everything I'd imagined. Red brick and green lawns and the hum of brilliant minds colliding. I arrived in August with 2 suitcases and my laptop and a bank account that would last exactly 1 semester if I was careful. My parents drove me. 3 hours from home to Cambridge. My father at the wheel. My mother commenting on traffic. Jessica came too. Ostensibly to help. Actually to take photos for Instagram. She posed in front of the MIT sign. Posted it with a caption about her brilliant baby sister. My mother cried when they left, hugged me tight and told me to call home every week. My father shook my hand like I was a business associate. Jessica took 3 more selfies with me in the background. Then they were gone, and I was alone. Finally, blessedly alone. My roommate was Dev Patel, a computer science major from New Jersey with kind eyes and an easy laugh. We got along immediately. The kind of instant compatibility that happens when 2 people are both trying to escape something they don't talk about. "You're quiet," he observed the first week. "So are you." Touché. He grinned. But I'm quiet because I'm thinking. You're quiet because you're hiding. I looked at him. I'm not hiding. Sure you are. We all are. That's what college is for. Reinvention. Becoming who we are away from who we were. I didn't disagree. The work was harder than high school, but not impossible. I was used to studying until 2 in the morning, used to pushing through exhaustion, used to making perfection look effortless. I joined a robotics lab, started research with a professor in mechanical engineering, kept my head down and my grades up and my goals clear. I called home once a week like I'd promised. The conversations were brief, surface level. My mother asked about classes and weather and if I was making friends. She told me about Jessica's new job at a marketing firm, about the apartment my parents had helped her get, about the promotion she'd gotten after 3 months. Nobody asked about my research, my grades, my life. By October, I was calling every other week, then every 3 weeks. Then just when my mother texted asking if I was alive, Thanksgiving, I told them I was staying on campus. Too much work. A project due the Monday after break. They didn't argue. Jessica was coming home anyway. That's what mattered. I spent Thanksgiving in the dining hall with other students who had nowhere to go or no desire to go there. Dev was there, and a few people from my robotics team. We ate institutional turkey and played board games and didn't talk about our families. It was the best Thanksgiving I'd ever had. Christmas, I couldn't avoid. I went home for 5 days. The house looked the same, felt the same family photos on the walls, mostly Jessica. A few with both of us where I was half out of frame or blurry. The same dynamics. The same conversations that went nowhere. Jessica showed me her phone. Her Instagram had 10,000 followers now. She was doing influencer marketing, whatever that meant. My parents thought it was brilliant, a new career path. So modern. I showed them my research paper, first author on a publication in an undergraduate journal. My professor had called it exceptional. My parents flipped through it politely, not understanding a word, and set it on the coffee table under some magazines. I left December 30th, told them I needed to get back early for an independent study project. It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the full truth either. The full truth was that I couldn't breathe in that house. Couldn't pretend anymore that things would change, that they'd see me, that I mattered. Spring semester brought clarity. I stopped expecting anything, stopped hoping for phone calls or care packages or any sign that they remembered I existed outside of obligatory holidays. I focused on school, on research, on building a future that had nothing to do with them. Dev noticed around March. We were studying in the library, him working on code, me reading a textbook on thermodynamics. You never talk about your family, he said without looking up from his screen. I didn't look up either. There's nothing to say. Sophomore year became a study in absence, not just my parents' absence from my life, but my absence from theirs. I stopped calling, stopped updating them on achievements, stopped expecting them to ask. The silence was mutual, comfortable in its predictability. I threw myself into research. Professor Sarah Martinez ran the advanced robotics lab, and she'd taken me on as an assistant the previous semester. By October of sophomore year, I was leading my own project, a modular gripper system for manufacturing applications. The kind of work that graduate students usually did. Professor Martinez was everything my parents weren't. She asked questions and listened to the answers. She challenged me without diminishing me. She saw potential and cultivated it instead of comparing it to someone else's mediocrity and finding mine lacking. You're one of the most talented students I've worked with, she told me one afternoon in the lab. We were calibrating sensors, her hands steady as she adjusted a circuit board. Have you thought about graduate school? I can barely afford undergraduate. She looked at me over her safety glasses. There are funded programs, full tuition plus stipend. You'd be competitive for any of them. The idea felt distant, impossible. 4 years away, I was still trying to survive the next 4 months. the next tuition payment, the next time I'd have to choose between textbooks and groceries. I'll think about it, I said. Don't just think, plan. You're capable of extraordinary things, Maya. Don't let anything hold you back. I wondered what she'd say if she knew what was holding me back. If she knew that my parents had spent over $80,000 on my sister's failed college attempts, and I was cobbling together loans and scholarships and work-study wages, that the money existed. It just wasn't for me. But I didn't tell her. I didn't tell anyone. The financial disparity was my private shame, as if I'd somehow failed to earn what Jessica received by default. Dev figured it out anyway. We were in our dorm room, sophomore spring, both working on problem sets. I was on my laptop, checking my bank account, calculating whether I could afford both the textbook for next semester's thermodynamics course and the lab fee for my research project. You okay? Dev asked. Fine. You've been staring at that screen for 10 minutes without moving. I closed the laptop. Just budgeting. Is money tight? It's always tight. He set down his pencil. But your parents are paying for school, right? You said they were. I said they were helping. That's different. How much are they contributing? I didn't want to answer. But Dev had this way of being quiet and patient until the truth came out. We'd lived together for 2 years. He'd seen me eat ramen for a week straight. He'd heard me on the phone with loan servicers. He knew. About 12,000 total, I said. Over 2 years. Total, that's like 1 semester of tuition. I have scholarships and loans, and I work. But they could afford more, couldn't they? Your sister went to college. My sister went to college 5 times. The bitterness surprised me. I usually kept it buried deeper. She dropped out 4 times. They paid for all of it. Tuition, apartment, car, credit cards. About 80,000 so far. Probably more. Dev stared at me. 80,000? Give or take. And they gave you 12? I'm resourceful. I don't need as much help. I could hear my mother's voice in the words. Responsible. Mature. Capable. All the adjectives that meant they could neglect me without guilt. That's not how parenting works, Dev said quietly. That's not how any of this works. It's how my family works. He looked like he wanted to argue more. Instead, he pulled out his phone. My parents are annoying and overprotective and they call too much, but they'd never do that. They'd split everything equally, even if one of us needed more help. That's what parents do. Not mine. Have you told them how messed up this is? I laughed. It sounded hollow. They don't think it's messed up. They think it's fair. Jessica needs more support. I'm independent. I'll be fine. Will you? I don't have a choice. That conversation changed something between us. Dev started insisting on buying groceries for both of us. He'd claim his parents sent extra money, that he couldn't use it all himself, that I'd be doing him a favor. I let him because I was tired and hungry and running out of ways to stretch my budget. His family started including me in things. His mother sent care packages addressed to both of us. His father called to check in, asked about my classes and my research with genuine interest. They invited me home for spring break, absorbed me into their chaos of loud dinners and board games, and arguments about nothing important. It hurt, not because they were unkind, but because they showed me what I'd been missing, what normal looked like, what parents were supposed to be. Junior year brought more research success. I co-authored a paper with Professor Martinez, presented at a regional conference, won a grant for my Gripper project. The work was published in a prestigious undergraduate journal. My name in print, my ideas permanent. I sent the link to my parents. No context. Just the URL in a text message. My mother responded 3 days later. That's wonderful, honey. So proud. No follow-up questions. No acknowledgement that this was exceptional, that most undergraduates never published anything, that this could change my graduate school prospects. Just the same generic praise she gave when I cleaned my room or remembered to call. Jessica posted on Instagram the same week. A photo of her at some networking event, wine glass in hand, caption about crushing her career goals. My mother commented with 5 heart emojis and, "So proud of my successful daughter." I stopped checking their social media after that, stopped subjecting myself to the evidence of their priorities. Thanksgiving of junior year, I stayed on campus again. Dev went home but left me his key. "In case you need to escape the dining hall," he said. His mother sent a care package specifically for me, homemade cookies, and a card that said, "We're thankful for you." I cried reading that card. Sat on Dev's bed in the empty room and cried like I hadn't cried since middle school. Not because I was sad. Because someone's mother, not even my own, thought I was worth being thankful for. By senior year, I'd built a life that had nothing to do with my family. I had research, had friends, had professors who championed me. I'd learned to stop expecting anything from my parents. Stopped hoping they'd change. Stopped believing their promises. Which made what happened in November almost funny. Almost. The email arrived on a Tuesday afternoon in early November. I was in the library, working on my thesis proposal, when my phone buzzed with a notification. MIT Office of Student Affairs. Subject line: "Congratulations on your nomination." I opened it, expecting some generic scholarship notification. Instead, "Dear Maya Chen, we are pleased to inform you that you have been nominated for valedictorian of the class of 2025. Your academic achievements, research contributions, and leadership have distinguished you among your peers. Final selection will be announced in January. Congratulations on this well-deserved recognition." I read it twice. Then I closed my laptop and walked outside. The November air was cold, sharp enough to sting. I sat on a bench near the Great Dome, my hands shaking slightly, my mind trying to process what this meant. Valedictorian, at MIT, one of the most competitive schools in the world. Out of 2,000 students in my class, I was being considered for the highest academic honor the university could give: 4 years of perfect grades. Of research that had been published and presented and praised. Of work-study jobs and scholarship applications and choosing between textbooks and meals. Of building a future out of nothing because my family had given me nothing. And now this. I called Dev. He was in class, didn't answer. I called Professor Martinez. She picked up on the second ring. "I got nominated for valedictorian," I said. "Maya, that's incredible. I'm not surprised. You've earned this." I don't know what to do. "What do you mean?" "You accept the nomination. You give the speech if you're selected. You let yourself be proud." Pride felt foreign. Pride felt dangerous. Like acknowledging success would somehow jinx it, or reveal me as unworthy, or confirm that I'd been foolish to think I deserved recognition. "My parents," I started, then stopped. Professor Martinez was quiet for a moment. She didn't know much about my family. I kept that part of my life separate, compartmentalized. But she was perceptive. She'd probably guessed that something was wrong. "Whatever your relationship with your parents is," she said carefully, "this achievement is yours. You earned it. No one can take it from you." I wanted to believe her. I called my parents that night, told myself it would be different this time. This was too big to ignore, too significant to diminish. Surely they'd understand what this meant. My mother answered on the fourth ring. "Maya, hi, sweetie. How are you?" "I have news. I got nominated for valedictorian." Silence. Then, "Both of you." The question hit like a physical blow. My vision tunneled. My hands went numb. "What? Aren't there usually multiple valedictorians? You and some other students?" "No, Mom. One valedictorian, for the entire graduating class, at MIT." "Oh." She processed this. "Well, that's very impressive, honey. When will you know if you got it?" If I got it. As if the nomination itself wasn't already exceptional. As if being considered for this honor wasn't already an achievement worth celebrating. "January," I said. My voice sounded flat. "They'll announce in January." "That's exciting. Your father will be so proud. He's at a work dinner right now, but I'll tell him when he gets home." "Okay." How's everything else? Are you eating enough? Getting sleep? We talked for 3 more minutes. Surface level questions, surface level answers. She told me about Jessica's new apartment, the promotion she might be getting, the vacation they were planning to help her celebrate. She asked about my classes in the abstract, nodding along to answers she didn't understand. Then she said she had to go. Book club starting soon. She'd call me this weekend. She didn't call that weekend. Or the next one. The final decision came in January. Another email, this one shorter. Congratulations, you have been selected as valedictorian. Please contact the Office of Student Affairs to discuss ceremony details and your speech. I forwarded it to my parents with a simple message. I'm valedictorian. Graduation is May 20th. My mother's response came within minutes. Congratulations. We're so proud. We'll let you know about travel plans soon. Not will be there, not wouldn't miss it, just will let you know. I'd heard that before. Senior year of high school. National Merit Finalist Assembly. The research conference. Every major event where they'd promised to come and then found a reason not to. But this was different. This was graduation. From MIT. As valedictorian. Surely they wouldn't miss this. I sent formal invitations in February. Printed cards with the date and time and location. Included a note. I'll be giving the graduation speech. Hope you can make it. My mother texted a week later. Got the invitation. Looks beautiful. We'll try to be there. We'll try. Not will be there. Not we're booking flights. Try. I showed the text to Dev. We were in our room, both supposed to be studying for midterms. He read it 3 times. They're not coming, he said. You don't know that. Yes, I do. And so do you. He set his phone down. My whole family is coming to your graduation. Parents, sister, grandparents. They've already booked hotels. They're not my family. They want to be. He looked at me seriously. You know what you should do? Tell your parents not to come. Tell them you don't want them there. I can't do that. Why not? Because some part of me, small and stubborn and pathetically hopeful, still believed they'd show up, still believed that this time would be different, that they'd finally see me. I didn't say that. I just shook my head and went back to my textbook. March brought thesis defenses. Mine was scheduled for April 15th. I sent my parents the Zoom link 2 weeks in advance. This was my research, my work, the culmination of 4 years of study. Professor Martinez had submitted it to 3 major journals. It was good. Exceptional, even. April 15th arrived. I logged into the Zoom call at 9 in the morning. 4 professors on the panel, Professor Martinez moderating, a handful of other students observing. I presented for 45 minutes, answered questions for another 30, defended my methodology, my conclusions, my contributions to the field. I passed with distinction. The panel praised my work, suggested journals that might want to publish it, asked if I'd considered PhD programs. Professor Martinez beamed at me from her square on the screen. My parents weren't there. Neither of them had logged in. I texted my mother afterward. Just defended my thesis. Passed with distinction. She responded 5 hours later. That's great, honey. Knew you could do it. No apology for missing it. No acknowledgement that she'd said she'd try to attend. Just casual pride, as meaningful as a thumbs-up emoji. I added it to the tally in my head. Every missed event, every broken promise, every time try meant won't. The total was staggering now. Years of accumulation. A mountain of disappointment that I'd been carrying alone. April brought Jessica's news. I saw it on Instagram before anyone told me directly. A post with champagne and flowers and a caption about getting promoted to senior marketing coordinator. My mother's comment, "Celebration brunch this weekend, so proud of you." I checked the date, May 20th, the same weekend as my graduation. Of course it was. I waited to see if anyone would mention the conflict, if my mother would text to ask about moving Jessica's brunch. If my father would suggest celebrating Jessica a different weekend. If Jessica herself would notice that maybe, possibly, her sister's MIT graduation was also worth attending. Nobody mentioned it. I sent a text to the family group chat. Just confirming you got my graduation invitation. May 20th at noon. I'm giving the speech. My mother. Yes, got it. Beautiful card. Radio silence about the conflict. I tried again. That's the same day as Jessica's brunch. My mother. Oh, is it? Let me check the calendar. 15 minutes passed. Then, we'll figure something out. Both are important. Both are important. The same lie they'd been telling for 22 years. I screenshotted the Instagram post, saved the text messages, added them to the documentation I'd been keeping since middle school. Evidence. Proof. A record of every time I'd come second. Dev came home from class and found me staring at my phone. What happened? Jessica's promotion brunch is graduation day. Of course it is. He sat down next to me. What are you going to do? Graduate. I set my phone down. Give my speech, take my degree, move on with my life. And your parents? They'll choose Jessica, they always do. You sound calm about this. I was calm, eerily calm. The kind of calm that comes after you stop fighting, stop hoping, stop believing that things will change. I've had 22 years to accept who they are, I said. I'm done being surprised. But I wasn't done planning. Because this time was different. This time wasn't just another missed event, another broken promise, another quiet disappointment I'd absorb alone. This time was public. This time was documented. This time was my MIT graduation, where I'd be standing on a stage in front of thousands of people, giving a speech about achievement and perseverance, and the people who show up when it matters. This time, everyone would see what I'd seen my whole life. I started writing the speech in early May, 4 minutes, approximately 600 words. I wrote draft after draft, refining every sentence, choosing every word with surgical precision. Professor Martinez reviewed it. This is powerful, she said. Are you sure you want to say all this? I'm sure. It's going to create waves. Good. I practiced until I could recite it without notes. Until every pause landed correctly, every emphasis hit its mark, until I could deliver it calmly, evenly, without my voice shaking or breaking. I ordered 2 name cards for the reserved seats. Simple white cardstock with elegant black printing, Mr. and Mrs. Chen. I placed the order for 1 white rose, told the florist I'd pick it up graduation morning. I emailed the MIT videographer with specific requests. Front row angle, close up on the empty seats during my speech, high quality audio. I told her I was documenting the event for family who couldn't attend. She didn't question it. Everything was ready. All I had to do was wait. The text came on May 19th at 11:47 at night. I was in bed, not sleeping, staring at my phone like I'd been waiting for it, which I had been. Hi, sweetie. I'm so sorry, but we won't be able to make it tomorrow. Your sister's promotion brunch is at the same time and she really wants us there. It's an important milestone for her. Family comes first, you understand. We'll celebrate with you soon. Love you. I read it 3 times. Then I read my father's follow-up text. Your mother is right. This is Jessica's big moment. You'll have other achievements. We're very proud of you. Other achievements. As if valedictorian at MIT was just another item on a list. As if it happened all the time. As if I'd have another chance at this exact moment. I didn't respond. I set my phone on the nightstand and lay back down and stared at the ceiling in the dark. Family comes first. They'd finally said it explicitly, finally confirmed what I'd always known. I wasn't family, not the way Jessica was, not in any way that mattered. I heard Dev shift in his bed across the room. You okay? They're not coming. I know. How did you know? Because they never do. His voice was gentle. I'm sorry, Maya. Don't be. I surprised myself with how steady I sounded. I've been preparing for this. Preparing how? I smiled in the dark. You'll see. The next morning, I woke at 6, showered, put on my graduation outfit under my robe, a simple black dress, professional and severe, did my makeup carefully, pulled my hair back. Dev's family met us for breakfast. His mother hugged me tight. His father gave me a card with a gift certificate for textbooks. His sister took photos. They treated me like I was theirs, like I mattered. Your parents coming? Dev's mother asked carefully. No, I said. They had something else. She looked like she wanted to say more. Instead, she squeezed my hand. Then we'll cheer twice as loud. I picked up the white rose at 9, single stem, perfect and pale. The florist had wrapped it in clear cellophane with a white ribbon. For someone special? She asked. For an empty chair, I said. She looked confused but didn't ask. At 10, I placed the name cards on the reserved seats. Mr. and Mrs. Chen, front row, center section, best seats in the house. Then I laid the white rose across my mother's chair. The symbolism was intentional. White roses for remembrance, for absence, for something dead that people pretended was still alive. The videographer found me at 10:30. I have those angles set up like you asked. Are you sure about the front row focus? I'm sure. It's going to be very visible if those seats are empty. That's the point. She studied my face, understanding dawning. Okay, I'll make sure we get everything. The ceremony started at 11. 500 graduates filed in. 2,000 families watching. I sat on stage with the other honors students, my speech folded in my pocket, my heart beating steady and slow. I looked at the empty seats, the white rose gleaming under the lights, the name cards declaring who should have been there, and I smiled. The week before graduation moved in slow motion. Finals were finished, thesis submitted, apartment half-packed, boxes stacked against the wall. Dev was home for the week, his family having flown in early for various campus events. They kept inviting me to things, dinners, campus tours for his younger sister, a harbor cruise his father had organized. I went to most of them. It was easier than sitting alone in the dorm room, checking my phone every hour to see if my parents had changed their minds, if they'd realized what they were missing, if they'd chosen differently. They didn't text, didn't call. The group chat was silent except for Jessica posting photos of brunch planning, napkin colors, menu options, whether to get champagne or Prosecco. My mother responding to each one with enthusiasm and suggestions. Nobody mentioned graduation. Nobody acknowledged the date circled on the calendar. It was as if May 20th only existed in Jessica's universe, and mine was happening in some parallel dimension they couldn't access. On Tuesday, Professor Martinez invited me to lunch. We went to a small cafe near campus, the kind with mismatched chairs and art on the walls done by local students. She ordered a salad. I ordered soup I didn't eat. How are you feeling about Saturday? She asked. Fine, ready. Have you practiced the speech? About 100 times. She smiled. I'm excited to hear it. You've been working on it for weeks. I had been, every word chosen deliberately, every sentence structured for maximum impact. It wasn't just a speech, it was a reckoning. My parents aren't coming, I said. The words came out flat, factual. Professor Martinez set down her fork. Oh, Maya, I'm so sorry. They chose my sister's brunch instead. She got promoted, assistant to senior coordinator, or something. They think that's more important than this. There's nothing more important than this. To them there is. I stirred my soup, watching the patterns the spoon made. To them, there always has been. She was quiet for a moment. Then, is that what the speech is about? Partially. Good. Her voice was firm. You should say it. All of it. Whatever you need to say. It's going to make people uncomfortable. Good speeches usually do. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You've earned the right to speak your truth. Don't let anyone take that from you. I nodded. My throat felt tight. I'm proud of you, she said. Not just for your academic achievements, for your resilience, for becoming this person despite everything working against you. I had to look away. Kindness was harder to take than dismissal. Dismissal I knew how to handle. Kindness threatened to crack something open that I'd been keeping carefully sealed. Wednesday, I confirmed the details with the commencement office. They'd reserved 3 seats in the front row for my family. I'd requested 3 even though I only had 2 parents. Some small, petty part of me wanted the emptiness to be more visible, wanted the absence to take up more space. Will your family be arriving the day of or before? The coordinator asked. They're not coming. Oh. Pause. Should we unreserve the seats then? No. Keep them reserved. I want them marked. Are you sure? Other families could use. I'm sure. She didn't argue. Maybe she heard something in my voice. Maybe she'd dealt with family drama before. Maybe she just didn't care enough to push. I spent Wednesday afternoon at the print shop. Designed 2 name cards on my laptop. Simple. Elegant. White cardstock with black text in a serif font that looked official. Mr. Chen. Mrs. Chen. I added a 3rd card. Different design. Same cardstock but larger text. Bold instead of serif. Reserved for those who show up. The girl at the print shop looked at it while she was processing my order. That's pointed. It's accurate. Family drama? Something like that. She printed them without further comment, slid them into a protective sleeve, charged me $8. I picked up the rose Thursday morning, the same florist I'd used for various occasions over the years. She recognized me. What's the occasion? She asked while wrapping the stem. Absence, I said. She paused mid-wrap. I'm sorry? It's for someone who won't be there. Her expression shifted. Understanding, sympathy. She took extra care with the wrapping, added a 2nd layer of cellophane, tied the ribbon more carefully than necessary. I hope things get better, she said when she handed it to me. They will, after Saturday. I stored the rose in the mini-fridge in our dorm room. Dev found it when he was looking for his leftover pizza. Why do you have a funeral flower in the fridge? It's not a funeral flower, it's just white. White roses are for remembrance, for things that are gone. Exactly. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he closed the fridge and sat down on his bed. What are you planning? Nothing illegal. That's not reassuring. I'm just giving a speech, Dev, that's all. Just words. Words can be weapons. Then it's time I learned to fight back. Friday night, Dev's family took us all out to dinner. Fancy Italian place with tablecloths and candles and wine that Dev's father insisted on ordering. His mother toasted to our graduation. His sister asked what came next. His grandparents wanted to know about my thesis. It felt surreal. Sitting at this table with people who cared, who asked questions and listened to answers, who treated me like I mattered. Dev's mother had brought me a gift, a bracelet with a small charm that said, "Nevertheless," she persisted. "I saw it and thought of you," she said. "Everything you've overcome to get here." I fastened it around my wrist. The metal was cool against my skin, solid, real. "Thank you," I managed, "for everything, all of you." Dev's father raised his glass. "You're part of this family now, whether you like it or not." I excused myself to the bathroom after dinner, stood in front of the mirror and tried not to cry. Failed. Let the tears come silently, washing my face after and reapplying makeup before anyone could notice. My phone buzzed while I was fixing my mascara. A text from my mother. "Hope you have a wonderful graduation tomorrow. Wish we could be there. Take lots of pictures." Wish. Past tense, of something that was never going to happen, not, "We wish we could be there." Just wish. An acknowledgement of a desire they had no intention of acting on. I typed out a response, deleted it, typed again, deleted again. Finally settled on, "Thanks." She sent back a heart emoji. I stared at it for a long time. One small heart, red and hollow, as empty as the gesture. Back at the table, Dev's family was arguing about dessert. His sister wanted tiramisu. His mother wanted to share several things. His father was calculating portions. His grandparents were just happy to be included. Normal. This was what normal looked like. Loud and messy and full of people who showed up. I went to bed early that night. Set 3 alarms. Laid out my clothes, the black dress, simple jewelry, professional shoes. Put the speech in my bag. Triple-checked the printing on the name cards. Sleep didn't come easily. I lay in the dark, listening to Dev breathe in the bed across from me, watching the ceiling fan turn lazy circles, thinking about what tomorrow would bring, the empty seats, the white rose, the speech that would change everything. My phone lit up at 11:47. I picked it up, already knowing, somehow knowing. The text was from my mother. Long paragraphs. Hi, sweetie. I'm so sorry, but we won't be able to make it tomorrow. Your sister's promotion brunch is at the same time and she really wants us there. It's an important milestone for her. We've been planning it for weeks and she's so excited. Family comes first. You understand, right? You're so independent and mature you've never needed us the way Jessica does. We'll celebrate with you soon. Maybe we can take you to dinner next month when things calm down. We're so proud of you. You're going to do amazing things. Love you. I read it twice, 3 times. The words didn't change. Family comes first. You understand. You've never needed us. The justifications were almost funny. Almost. As if needing them less made their absence acceptable. As if my independence was a choice rather than a survival mechanism. My father's text came through 30 seconds later. Your mother is right. This is Jessica's big moment. You'll have other achievements. Proud of you, Maya. We'll see you soon. Other achievements. As if graduating valedictorian from MIT was commonplace. As if I'd have another chance at this exact milestone. As if this day wasn't the culmination of 4 years of work, of sacrifice, of building a future out of nothing. I sat up in bed. The room was dark except for the glow of my phone. Dev was asleep, his breathing steady. The world was quiet. And I was alone with the confirmation of what I'd always known. They'd chosen. They'd always been choosing. This was just the most visible, most public, most undeniable example. My hands were steady as I typed my response. 2 words. Rest well. Not, okay. Not, I understand. Not, love you too. Just rest well. Sleep peacefully. Enjoy your brunch. Celebrate Jessica's promotion. Do whatever it is you do when you're not being parents. I sent it. Turned off my phone. Lay back down. Something had shifted. Something quiet and final. The last thread of hope, the last particle of belief that things could be different, had snapped. Not with drama or tears or anger. Just a quiet severing. A door closing softly. I'd spent 22 years begging to be seen. Tomorrow, the world would see what they'd missed. Morning came cold and bright. I woke at 6, before my alarms, showered in the communal bathroom while the dorm was still quiet. Let the hot water run over me longer than necessary, washing away exhaustion and something else, some old version of myself that still cared what they thought. Dev was awake when I got back to the room. How are you feeling? He asked. Clear. That's not the word I expected. It's the right one. I started getting dressed. For the first time in my life, I know exactly what I'm doing. He watched me put on the black dress, fasten the bracelet his mother had given me, check my appearance in the mirror. Professional, composed, ready. You look like you're going to war, he said. I am. Just a quiet one. His family met us for breakfast at 8. The hotel restaurant was full of other graduates and their families, everyone buzzing with excitement. Dev's mother kept taking photos. His sister asked to see my speech. I told her she'd hear it soon enough. At 9:30, I excused myself, told them I needed to get to campus early. Dev offered to come with me, but I shook my head. This part I need to do alone. I took an Uber to the florist, retrieved the white rose from her industrial fridge. She'd kept it perfect, the petals still tight and unblemished. Good luck today, she said when I left. I don't need luck, I have truth. The campus was already filling with people, graduates in crimson robes, families with cameras, vendors selling MIT merchandise and congratulations balloons. The energy was electric, celebratory, everyone smiling. I made my way to the ceremony space. Rows and rows of chairs on the athletic field. A stage at the front. Reserved sections marked with signs. Family, faculty, press. The front row of the family section had small placards marking reserved seats. I found mine. 3 chairs, prime location, perfect view of the stage. I placed the first name card on the right chair. Mr. Chen. Placed the second on the middle chair. Mrs. Chen. Then I laid the white rose across my mother's chair, the stem positioned carefully so it wouldn't fall. The cellophane caught the light. The third card I placed on the left chair, the one I'd requested even though I only had 2 parents. Reserved for those who show up. A woman passing by stopped, read the cards, looked at me. Your family's not coming? No. I'm sorry. I'm not. I adjusted the rose. Not anymore. She didn't know what to say to that. She moved on. But others noticed. I saw them looking. Saw them reading the cards. Saw the understanding dawn. Saw them whisper to their families. Good. Let them see. Let everyone see. I found the videographer at 10:15. She was setting up near the stage, adjusting angles and checking equipment. I confirmed those shots you wanted, she said. Front row center during your speech. I'll make sure the empty seats are visible. Thank you. This is going to be powerful. You know that, right? That's the intention. She studied me. I've filmed a lot of graduations, a lot of speeches. I can always tell which ones are going to matter, which ones people will remember. She gestured to her camera. This one's going to matter. I hope so. At 10:30, we lined up for the processional. 500 graduates in alphabetical order. I was near the front. Chen, Maya, 4th row. I could see the stage, the empty seats, the white rose gleaming. Dev found me in line. My family saved you a seat with them. After. If you want. Tell them thank you. You're going to be okay, you know that, right? I'm going to be better than okay. The ceremony started at 11. The orchestra played. We processed in, robes billowing, mortarboards secured. The crowd stood and applauded. Cameras flashed. Somewhere in that sea of people was Dev's family, cheering for me. Professor Martinez, proud. Grandma Rose, who'd driven 3 hours to be here. And in the front row, 2 empty chairs and a white rose. The president spoke. Welcomed everyone. Made jokes about MIT traditions and the brilliance of the graduating class. Introduced the faculty marshals and distinguished guests. The ceremony moved through its prescribed order: musical interludes, degree conferrals, awards and recognitions. Then, and now, to deliver the valedictory address, graduating summa cum laude with a degree in mechanical engineering, Maya Chen. The applause was polite, respectful. No one knew yet, no one understood what was coming. I stood, walked across the stage. My heels clicked against the temporary flooring. The podium was solid wood. Microphone adjusted to my height. I set my speech on it. Looked out at the audience. 2,000 people, 500 graduates, hundreds of families who'd shown up, who'd traveled, who'd rearranged their schedules and priorities because this mattered. Because their children mattered. And in the front row, the empty seats. The name cards, the white rose. The videographer gave me a subtle thumbs up. She had the angle. She was recording. I looked at those empty chairs one more time, thought about every missed birthday, every forgotten achievement, every, "That's nice, sweetie," followed by redirection to Jessica. Every broken promise and every dollar spent on someone else, and every time I'd been told I was too independent to need them. I thought about the midnight text. Family comes first. You understand. I understood. I opened my mouth, and years of silence came pouring out. Good morning. To my fellow graduates, to the families who traveled to be here, to the professors who challenged us, and to the empty seats that taught me the most important lesson of all. I paused. Let that land. Watched understanding ripple through the crowd. 4 years ago, I arrived at MIT with 2 suitcases and a belief that achievement would be enough. That if I worked hard enough, excelled enough, earned enough recognition, I would finally be seen. That excellence would demand attention in a way my childhood never could. My voice was steady, calm. The microphone carried it clearly across the field. I was wrong. Excellence doesn't demand anything. People choose what they see, they choose what matters, and sometimes, no matter what you achieve, the chairs stay empty. I gestured to the front row. The videographer zoomed in. The white rows, the name cards, the 3 empty seats that told a story louder than words. These seats were reserved for my parents. They chose not to come, not because of an emergency or an illness or circumstances beyond their control. They chose a brunch for my sister's promotion over my graduation. They sent a text at midnight saying, "Family comes first." Apparently, I'm not family. The silence was absolute. 2,000 people holding their breath. But this isn't a story about what I lost. It's about what I found. Because when the people who were supposed to see us don't, we learn to see each other. We learn that family isn't biology, it's choice. It's the professor who stayed late to review my thesis. The roommate who shared his family because I had none. The grandmother who quietly believed in me when no one else did. The friends who showed up when showing up mattered. I looked at Dev in the graduate section, at Professor Martinez in the faculty rows, at Grandma Rose in the family section, tears streaming down her face. To every student here who's sitting in front of empty seats, who's celebrating alone, who's been told they're too independent, too capable, too self-sufficient to need support, I see you. Your achievement isn't diminished by their absence. It's amplified by what you accomplished despite it. My hands gripped the podium. The words I'd practiced 100 times flowed naturally now. They told me I was mature, responsible, that I didn't need them the way my sister did. But independence isn't a personality trait. It's a survival skill. You learn it when you have to. When no one shows up to your spelling bee. When your birthday cake comes from the grocery store clearance shelf. When you work 3 jobs to pay for the education they funded 5 times over for someone else. When the text comes at midnight, and you realize you've been preparing for this disappointment your whole life. I could see people crying, parents holding their children closer, students nodding because they understood, because they'd lived it too. I spent 22 years being told I was less important, that my achievements were expected rather than celebrated, that my needs were secondary to someone else's wants. I documented it all. Every missed event, every broken promise, every dollar spent elsewhere. I have a list. Dates, times, amounts. Evidence that this wasn't imagination or sensitivity. It was real. It was quantifiable. It was wrong. The speech was halfway done. The most important parts were coming. But here's what I learned at MIT. Here's what 4 years of brilliant minds and late-night problem sets and impossible challenges taught me. Sometimes chairs stay empty. And we don't fix that by begging people to sit in them. We fix it by building new tables. We fix it by choosing different families. We fix it by showing up for each other when no one else will. I pulled my note cards closer. Read the next section I'd written last. To the parents here today, thank you for coming. Thank you for rearranging your schedules and booking flights and sitting through a 3-hour ceremony in uncomfortable chairs. Your presence matters more than you know. Don't ever underestimate the power of showing up. Don't ever make your child earn your attendance. Don't ever tell them they're too capable to need you. Everyone needs someone to show up. My throat was tight, but my voice didn't shake. And to my fellow graduates, remember this moment. Remember what it felt like when someone showed up for you, or what it felt like when they didn't. Remember the professors who saw potential, the friends who became family, the strangers who offered kindness. Remember that silence isn't always golden. Sometimes it's training. training to use your voice when you finally have a platform, training to speak truth when truth is uncomfortable, training to stand on a stage in front of thousands and say, "This happened, it was wrong, and I survived it anyway." I was almost done, just the closing left. When I walked across this stage to accept my diploma today, I didn't do it for the people who weren't here. I did it for the ones who were. For Professor Martinez, who championed me when I didn't know how to champion myself. For Dev and his family, who adopted me without hesitation. For my grandmother Rose, who never compared, never dismissed, never made me small. For every student who needed to see that empty chairs don't define our worth, our resilience does. I looked directly at the camera, at the videographer who was capturing everything, at the lens that would carry this moment beyond this field, beyond this day. May we never leave someone's seat empty. May we never make our children compete for our presence. May we never confuse independence with not needing love. May we never send the midnight text that says, "Family comes first," to the child we've been treating like they're not family at all. I stepped back from the podium. The silence held for 3 seconds. Then the applause started. Not polite. Thunderous. People standing. Graduates throwing their caps. Parents crying. Someone started a chant of my name that spread through the graduate section. I walked off the stage. My legs felt steady. My hands weren't shaking. I'd said what needed saying. The rest would unfold, however it unfolded. Dev found me backstage, hugged me so hard I couldn't breathe. "That was perfect," he said. "That was everything." Professor Martinez was next. "I'm so proud of you, not just for what you said, but for finding your voice." Grandma Rose held me and cried and told me she loved me, told me she was sorry, told me I was magnificent. The ceremony continued. Diplomas were distributed, more speeches given, musical performances. But everyone was still talking about mine. I could hear the whispers, see the people looking at me, feel the shift in energy. By the time we processed back out, my phone was exploding. The MIT official account had posted the video at 2 p.m. Just the speech, cleanly edited, with a caption, "Valedictorian Maya Chen on chosen family and showing up." 100,000 views in the first hour. Dev's sister showed me her phone during the reception. It's everywhere. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Everyone's sharing it. 500,000 views by 4 p.m. The comments poured in. Thousands of them. This made me cry. I had empty chairs too. Every parent should watch this. I'm calling my daughter right now to apologize. This is what happens when you choose the golden child. The other one becomes gold without you. Someone had screenshotted the empty seats, the white rows, the name cards. The image was spreading faster than the video. Number "The empty chair" was trending. So was number "Build your own table." 1 million views by dinner. The news outlets picked it up by evening. Local stations first, then regional, then national. CNN ran a segment about it on their education program. The Atlantic wrote a think piece about parental favoritism and long-term psychological effects. BuzzFeed made a list, 11 moments from this graduation speech that will wreck you. My phone was useless. Too many notifications. Too many messages from people I hadn't spoken to in years. High school classmates. Distant relatives. People who'd witnessed the pattern and never said anything. And then at 7 p.m., my mother's text came through. "Maya, what have you done? Everyone is calling us. Everyone saw that speech. Why didn't you tell us you were going to say those things? You made it sound like we're terrible parents. People are asking us why we weren't there. This is so embarrassing. Call me immediately." My father's text followed minutes later. "Your mother is very upset. You made us look bad in front of thousands of people. This was supposed to be your celebration, and you turned it into an attack on your family. Very disappointed in your choices today." Jessica texted too. "Thanks a lot, Maya. Now everyone thinks I'm the spoiled golden child, and you're the victim. You made us all look like villains. Mom is crying. Dad is furious. Was humiliating us really worth it? I read them all. Then I muted the group chat. Muted each of them individually. 2.4 million views by midnight. Dev and I were in our hotel room. His family had gotten us a suite to celebrate. His mother kept bringing me food I couldn't eat. His father kept saying, "Good for you," with fierce pride. His sister was reading me comments from social media. Someone started a hashtag, she said. Number build your own seat. People are posting photos of their chosen families. Of the people who showed up when their parents didn't. I looked through them. Thousands of photos. Professors and coaches and friends. Grandparents and aunts and neighbors. People who'd stepped in when parents stepped out. My story had cracked something open. Given permission for others to speak their truths. To name their pain. To stop pretending that biology was enough when it wasn't. Professor Martinez texted around 1 a.m. "Are you okay?" I responded, "Better than I've ever been." The messages from my parents continued over the next 2 days. Voicemails that started angry and shifted to wounded. Texts that oscillated between blame and self-pity. Jessica called 17 times. I didn't answer. Grandma Rose called once. I answered. "I'm so proud of you," she said. "Your mother called me crying, asked why I didn't stop you from giving that speech. I told her I didn't know what you were going to say, but if I had, I would have encouraged you to say it louder." How angry is she? Very, but also scared, because everything you said was true, and now everyone knows it. Do you think she'll ever understand? Grandma Rose was quiet for a moment. I think she's starting to. Sometimes the only way people learn is when the whole world holds up a mirror. A week after graduation, my mother texted, "We need to talk. Can you come to dinner? Sunday." I didn't respond immediately. Sat with it for a day. Talked to Dev, to Professor Martinez, to my therapist I'd started seeing sophomore year. Finally replied, "Neutral location, public restaurant, just the 4 of us. I'll bring documentation." She agreed. The restaurant was downtown, expensive enough to discourage scenes, busy enough that we'd have witnesses. I arrived first, chose a corner table, spread out my materials, printed copies of texts, my journal entries going back to middle school, a spreadsheet of financial disparities, a timeline of every major event they'd missed. Evidence, facts, numbers that couldn't be argued with. They arrived together. My mother looked tired. My father looked defensive. Jessica looked scared. We ordered. Nobody touched their food. "Maya," my mother started. "I don't understand why you're so angry. We've always loved you. We've always been proud of you." I pulled out the first document. Age 10. My birthday cake cost $12. Jessica's cost $180. I documented the receipts from the credit card statements. "That was years ago," my father said. Age 13. I won the state math championship. You didn't come because Jessica had a dentist appointment that could have been rescheduled. I have the text exchanges. "You never told us it was important to you," my mother said. "I shouldn't have to beg you to show up." I pulled out more papers. Age 17. I got accepted to MIT early decision. You said, "That's far from home," and changed the subject. The same week, you threw a party for Jessica getting into state school, her 3rd attempt. I have the Facebook posts. Jessica flinched. I kept going. Age 18 to 22. Every instance where I'd reached out and been dismissed. Every achievement met with, "That's nice," and redirection. Every promise broken. Every dollar discrepancy. Every missed event. The evidence was overwhelming. Undeniable. A 22-year pattern of choosing one child over the other so consistently it couldn't be explained away as circumstance or misunderstanding. You spent $157,000 on Jessica's education and lifestyle over 6 years, I said. You gave me $12,000 total. I have bank statements. You spent an average of $2,000 per year on my birthdays and Christmas combined. Jessica averaged $7,000. I tracked everything. My mother's face was white. We didn't realize. Yes, you did. You made choices. Every time. You chose her. You chose her birthday party over my spelling bee. You chose her mall trip over my research presentation. You chose her promotion brunch over my MIT graduation. You texted me at midnight. Family comes first. You told me to my face that I wasn't family enough to matter. That's not what we meant, my father said. Then what did you mean? Explain it to me. Explain how you could miss your daughter's graduation as valedictorian from MIT because your other daughter got a promotion to a mid-level marketing position and was having brunch. Explain the math in a way that makes sense. They couldn't. The silence stretched. Jessica spoke quietly. I didn't know. I mean, I knew they paid for more of my stuff, but I didn't know it was that much more. I didn't know they missed so many of your things. You never asked. None of you ever asked how I was or what I needed or if I was okay being treated like I was optional. You always seemed so capable, my mother said. So independent. You never complained. You never asked for help. I shouldn't have to beg my parents to love me as much as they love my sister. That should be automatic. That should be guaranteed. What? My voice was still calm, steady. This wasn't about rage. It was about clarity. You told everyone I was mature, responsible, self-sufficient. But those were excuses. You made me independent because depending on you was too painful. I learned at 10 years old that needing you was pointless. So I stopped needing you. I stopped expecting anything. I built a life where your absence didn't matter. And now you're upset that the whole world saw what I've been living with my entire life. My mother started crying. We didn't mean to hurt you. We love you. You thought what? That I wouldn't notice? That I wouldn't keep track?